What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J-Monster. Thank you for joining me on our foray into the dark, gothic underworld of the Darkest Dungeon. This game is a favorite of mine. I absolutely love it, however, it is bone-crushingly difficult. And in keeping with that, we are going to be playing on the hardest difficulty. This is essentially a suicide run. There's a couple of interesting little quirks you're going to find on this difficulty that you will not find on the lower ones. For example, the first and probably the hardest in my opinion is that you have a limited number of deaths. And something you need to know about this game is that deaths in your party are par for the course. Someone is going to die. It is inevitable. You cannot keep them alive. Don't even bother. There is no hope. And the second and slightly less difficult but still quite hard is that there is a timeline. There is a doomsday clock counting down towards the end of the world, and we only have a limited amount of time in which to defeat the evil that is plaguing the lands around this great manor. And of course, as I said at the end of our For Honor video, this is going to be a test, essentially. See if you guys want to see this on the channel. If you guys would like that, then let me know down in the comment section, and I will make it into a full-fledged campaign, at least as far as we can get, because I have not successfully beaten this game yet. It is that hard. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in just a moment.
You will arrive along the old road. It winds with a troubling, serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside, leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient, pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path, you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors. So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell, but in that gaping abyss, we will find our redemption.
Alright, so now before we jump into the introduction, I'm going to tell you a couple of mechanics that are quite integral to the combat system. First, you can see that we have two status bars here. The first, obviously, is health. The second, as you can see, is stress. Now, it is a bar that fills up to 200. After the first 100, you will get a negative trait, or potentially you'll get a negative trait. Your will will be tested, and if you're lucky, you will gain a very nice positive trait that will reduce your stress and give you a lot of nice bonuses. However, if you are unlucky, and this is probably going to be about 2/3 of the time, you will get a negative trait related to stress. And some of them are they're not so bad. I mean, these things can range from paranoia to masochism, where like you'll be stabbing yourself on your own turns. Paranoia will prevent you from letting your allies help you, so no heals for that character and things like that. One negative trait can be kind of alright. The more than one, it tends to get a little bit sticky. So 2, you're kind of okay, it's annoying. 3, that character can very quickly become crippled and almost useless to you. So it does behoove you to manage your stress levels wisely and well, and to try and stack your party with abilities that reduce stress as well, so you can keep that down during dungeons, because there are enemies that have attacks specifically to stress you out, and it is not fun. Okay, so let's move on now just a little farther into this creepy little forest. And of course you will have to pardon my French. Unfortunately, my game is locked into French. I normally play it on French, and I switched it over to English for the Let's Play, but it doesn't seem to want to cooperate. So for the next couple episodes, they will be in English, but this first little foray is going to be in French, so I'm sure you guys will be okay with that. I know there are people out there that do speak French that watch these videos. Alright, so it is turn-based, as you can see. We have a couple of opportunities to kill this thing before it is going to be able to attack us. There is a lot of thought that needs to go in to what you do and when, as well as your positioning here. You can see different positions open up different abilities. Most of our thief character's abilities are grayed out because he is in the second position. And those are going to change depending on whether he's in first, third, or fourth, or of course second. Oh, thank you. Delicious money. Now, this is the first of many objects that we are going to encounter in the game. Some of them do have some nice little negative, or nice little positive, rather, effects. The others can be quite negative. And this one right here, that's pretty goddamn scary. So we're actually going to take a pass on it and stay away from it because I got a feeling that that's going to stress us out to the extreme. So we're going to go ahead and just move on to the next area, where we are going to have a couple bandits lying in wait for us. And now this is where positioning becomes quite important. This guy is, as you can see, very large, and so he is shielding everyone behind him. So we have to take him down first before we can get into the much squishier units in behind him. And of course, when he dies, unless you crit him for a ton, yes, critical strikes are a thing in this. It is very RNG. Unless you overkill him by a lot, he is going to leave a corpse. So you're going to have to hack through the corpse on your way to the enemies behind him. So it adds a certain amount of difficulty. Nice little crit there. We're going to set ourselves up for a bonus. And you can see it gives us a lot of extra damage. Oh no! Take a little bit there from that scatter shot. This guy we're going to try and stun so that we can deny him a turn. It doesn't always work though, he is quite large. But this time we got lucky, so now he is stunned. And when you come out of a stun, you get a nice little bonus. So I'm going to have the opportunity, I cannot talk today, to stack some bleeds on this guy, which is like a stacking dot. So your bleed effects and your poison effects will stack on the enemies that you use them on, assuming you use them on the same enemy more than once. So you can very quickly stack up a ton of damage and burn down big beefy characters like this guy. So we're not going to have a chance to stun him again, I don't think. We could try it though. He's got about a 50% chance not to be stunned. So I think we're just going to go straight for the damage. Give him a good whack there with our Espadon. And one more nice hit on this guy right here. Get that extra stacking bleed on him so that we can take him down quickly. See, this actually does put a debuff on us, his suppressing fire, but I believe luckily managed to avoid that for 2 turns now. So he's going to go down, and as you can see, he's going to leave a big ugly corpse in his wake, which we are now going to have to hack through. Luckily our bleeds persist through his death, and so we'll be able to burn through that quite quickly and get into the squishy little bandit and his blunderbuss in behind him. Pop! And as you can see, this guy is going to drop very quickly, assuming he does not dodge our attacks like what he just did. Ouch. It's a little bit more damage than I had intended to take. Wow, this guy's really dodging us. Getting pretty unlucky. There we are. As you can see, there is a certain RNG element to this, which can be a little bit frustrating for some people, but I, however, absolutely adore this game. And it all adds to the flavor, shall we say. You know, a nice little bit of loot for the end. Let's close that. We're going to continue for just a second. See if we can't open this little chest here. And of course it's trapped, and we resisted the infection that it tried to give us. Got ourselves a nice little tidy sum, about 1,500 or so on the initial on our treasure gained, and a $5,000 reward for the end of it. So it's a nice little bit to get us a nice boost before we really start to get into the real dungeons. Let's see what we got here. So he's afraid of unholy things, so that includes skeletons and the like. He has this gives him a bonus to abilities that require him to be at a distance, so in the 3rd and 4th position. And this guy, unfortunately, he's going to lose a little bit of crit there, which is very unfortunate. His eyesight, I guess, not being all that great, although I think he does have an eye patch on, so I suppose that makes sense. Alright, so we're going to go over here to the wagon, and this constantly brings in a new influx of heroes, and trust me, you're going to need them. Like I said, death is part of this game. Don't get attached to your characters, but we are actually going to name these guys. And if you guys would like to have your name as one of these characters, so that you can join me in this adventure, because I'm going to name the first one here Jordan. So hopefully I managed to survive the first couple of dungeons. Once your characters manage to do that, they do gain in power quite quickly. But if you guys would like to see this as a series and you would like to see yourself on screen here, let me know and I will name one of the characters after you. Our stress levels are looking pretty good. We have a full party, so now we are going to move on to our very first dungeon, which is going to be in the ruins. This one is quite easy. All we're really going to have to do is explore most of the rooms. So if we can manage to avoid heavy combat, we certainly can do so. But where do we want this healer to be? I think this is an okay place. But yes, so we can avoid combat if possible in order to get ourselves through the dungeon, but we're probably not going to be able to do that. Just between you and I, it's quite hard to avoid all of the dangers that there are inside of the various dungeons. So let's go ahead. Let's get it started. And this is the provision screen. So you're going to need to buy torches to increase your torchlight. I do believe that there is a correlation between your torchlight and your ability to surprise enemies inside of the ruin, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But you will definitely need a bunch of these because there are some stress-related and just general kind of traits related to torchlight. So it is a good idea to keep your eye on that. We're actually not going to need so many as that. We'll take 9 for our first foray. And wanting to be sparing with our money, we will also take a meager 8 rations. We're also going to get ourselves a shovel for clearing out obstacles. One of these keys, because they can really pay off when you find chests. You can find a lot of extra treasure. Definitely worth it for keeping your finances in order. And I think that's quite enough. So we'll go ahead and we're going to start the dungeon. I'll see you guys in just a moment. And here we are, inside of our first little dungeon. If you guys have ever played Dungeons & Dragons before, this little map down here will be very, very familiar to you. You can see that there are rooms that you can go into, and you navigate them by moving through the various squares. Now in these hallways you can find all kinds of things. You can find these little curiosities here, like this nice little torch, which is going to help us light the way. We can also find more deadly things, like traps and other curiosities that can sometimes give you positive or negative traits, or even extra treasure and helpful items. So it's definitely worth it to consider checking out some of the curiosities along the way, although I guess the safest way is to not interact with anything, although you will be depriving yourself of a lot of pleasure and a lot of treasure on top of that. There we go. We're going to try and get a nice bleed on that guy. They managed to resist it, of course, because they are skeletons and don't actually have any blood. So we're going to try and blind this guy so that he's not able to attack us on the next turn. And, yeah, thereby quite handily decreasing the amount of damage that these characters can do to us. Try and lower this guy just a little bit more. Our Crusader apparently not going to get a turn this time around. Now we're going to obliterate both of them with a single fell swoop. Kaboom! Setting ourselves up for a nice, easy victory there. This one, for whatever reason, there are some chests that don't seem to interact very well with your skeleton keys. And so, like this one, for example, this is already unlocked. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But there are some things that you'd think you'd be able to unlock with a key that just eat your key and don't give you anything additional. So it's a little bit unfortunate. There we go. We've got ourselves a crest, and these are important for upgrading your little hamlet later, and are going to have a huge impact on your success in a campaign. So definitely worth it to try and prioritize those over things like, I don't know, say a small stack of gold.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
There we go. Using one of our shovels to push through that obstacle. You can get through the obstacles on your own without the use of a shovel, but it will cause you stress and it will cause you damage. So generally, it's just not worth it. There we go. We're going to set ourselves up for a little bit of damage. Give ourselves a nice bonus. Yes. Stressful incantation. We got lucky and we dodged it. Let's try and blind her because we don't want to keep our stress levels low. And unfortunately, it's going to miss. So that kind of sucks for us. We hit these guys. Yeah, with a nice AoE. Try and burn them down a little bit. Getting really lucky here with the dodges so far. Let's see what we got. There we go. One of the skeletons falls. Let's shoot this lady in the back. Try and take her down. There we go. Another chance at blinding her. Hopefully that works. No, unfortunately she resisted it. A little bit of damage right there. And we hit this guy as well. Taking another extra skeleton. We've really reduced the DPS of this party down to almost nothing. Yes, this is an ability that can sometimes change your positioning. So enemies do have access to abilities like that, and they could be a really, really big game changer if they happen at the wrong time. Oh no, that's definitely going to get him. So his stress level is going to rise precipitously. Look at that. A huge amount of stress. A fifth of the bar right there. There we go. Let's put an end to her. And luckily when you get crits, it will also decrease your stress a little bit. Killing enemies will also decrease your stress. So, yeah, definitely prioritize your killing blows as well. Nothing in this room. We're going to have a chance to scout here. I'm not entirely sure about the mechanics that govern this. I think it has something to do with traits that characters like, say, this rogue here have that allow you to scout out the area before you move in. You'll also find maps and stuff when you interact with curiosities. Whoop. We have to keep our torchlight up. Yeah, so in packs like this, you can sometimes find maps. Let's see what we found.
A handsome reward.
Oh, another key. How wonderful.
Task well performed.
But yeah, the maps are very useful for divining the various secrets that you're going to find in these rooms. Another fight here. Let's try and focus on her again, of course. I really want to take her down because she can do the most long-term damage to the party. These guys obviously do have a short-term danger, but her stressful incantation, look at this. His stress bar really starting to fill up now. Can have a serious long-term effect on the overall health of your party. Ooh, that was painful. There we go. Try and get her again. Hopefully this stuns her a little bit. Nope, she's going to resist basically everything that we can throw at her. Nice AoE there. Pop it off on these guys, taking down about half of their health. Let's try it again. There we go. Now we brought her to the front. Easy prey for our melee forces. Look at this. Got a nice bleed on her now. Won't be long before she's gone. It's gonna cause a bleed if it hits us. Nope. Thankfully it didn't. Now's the time to start healing. I definitely recommend taking more than one healer, unless you get nice critical heals like that. Boom! Down she goes. It is quite hard to keep up with healing on the overall party, because sometimes things like that happen. You can see that's a huge chunk of health, and yeah, it's very hard to heal a party with only one healer and still keep everybody alive, which is especially important, as I mentioned, in this particular mode of the game. There you go, stack a nice infection on him. Another heal. Ooh, getting really lucky with the crits today. Look at that. Oh no, please miss. Oh, our poor plague doctor taking a little bit of damage. Let's put an end to the skeleton. A nice little tidy bit of loot for our efforts. Pop a key down into there. See what kind of extra loot we get. Oh, look at this. These are very useful. This will increase the chance of infecting enemy units, which is kind of like a lot of the skills related to the plague doctor. So definitely worth it to have around. You can also use them as a cheap source of income to keep your finances high and healthy. Let's move on a little bit here. We're coming up to our first trap. There are characters that have trap sense, and you want them to be in front for the best chance of disabling a trap like this. So let's kind of stick him in front, because I'm pretty sure he has trap sense. Let's go ahead and try and disable it. Oops! I had the wrong character selected. So it doesn't matter which character you have selected, but generally when you know that there's a trap there, try and put your characters with trap sense in the front to have the best chances of success. Because if a trap goes off, it does damage and other nasty effects, and sometimes even adds a whole bunch of stress to the mix, which at the wrong moment can really hurt you in ways that you don't want to be hurt. Okay, so there's another little interesting thing down here, so we're going to head towards it. Try again to properly disable this trap. And unfortunately we failed. You see some damage there, and a whole buttload of stress. So one of the things you can do to kind of try and keep your health topped up is eat a little bit of food. Characters can only have about 4 of these rations usually before they are full and cannot have any more. And of course you're going to need at least 4 of them because at various points throughout the dungeon you will be prompted to eat 4 pieces of food in order to keep your strength up. If you do not have 4 pieces of food, you will take damage and stress, and things can really start to go downhill. So we're going to use this on this guy in the back. Hopefully it hits him, and hopefully it works this time. Yes, it did! Success! Let's try doing this. Let's just try and AoE them down. Check that out. Nice little tiny bit of damage onto all 3 of them at once. Ooh, a whopping 8 damage on our poor Crusader. Another one on this guy. Luckily we got a little bit, had a little bit of luck there, and he didn't take too much damage. These 2 in the front now, just about to fall. Let's try and hit, yeah, this guy in the back with an infection. Get a nice stacking dot going on him. Skeletons and rotting corpses like this are much more prone to infection than they are to bleeds. So that's something to keep in mind in the first few dungeons. Let's see. Let's kill this guy. That's right. Die, you bastard. Oof. Not too much damage taken there. Let's see if we can't burn these guys down right now. No. So very close, though. Our poor healer getting shot in the back there. Bam. Another skeleton goes down. Pop a heal down on our Crusader, who definitely needs it the most. So you can see the heals initially are not very great. And yeah, you definitely are going to want to try and get more than one support hero. You can actually get support hero or support abilities on your Crusader, and nice offensive abilities on your healer as well. So you can create yourself a fairly balanced party. I personally enjoy using the Sister of Battle, the Crusader, and a Plague Doctor and an Occultist, or 2 Crusaders, depending on what you want to do. And yeah, that makes a nice combination. So there's a nice little reliquary here. You can see this looks pretty benign, and it usually does kind of relieve a little bit of stress. We're going to use our Plague Doctor to open it, and hopefully nothing bad happens to him. There you go. Got himself a nice tidy little bit of health and some stress relief. Alright, so now we're going to move back towards this area, and it is important, especially in the longer dungeons. This is a short one, and is the first one we're going to do, so it's quite forgiving, but you really want to plan your routes very carefully, especially on the higher difficulties, because you will quickly find yourself running low on supplies, and that's not what you want to have happen. Alright, pop down a couple more torches there, keep our torchlight nice and healthy. You can see all of the relevant information up here when you scroll over this little bar. Oh, look at that. That is a nice find. All of that food, we're going to be able to spend a whole bunch on our Crusader. Bring us down to 8. And we can keep eating them if we want to, because we're going to have the necessary 4. This dungeon isn't too long, so we're not really in danger of running out of any food. There you go. Now the party's looking nice and healthy. Here's our first little prompt for it. You're going to need to eat food, or you will get 5% health. If you do not, you will undergo 20% of your health in damage and in stress, so that is a quite a big loss, so definitely you want to try and keep an eye on your food stocks. Look at that. Now we get a nice little bit of health across the whole party. Really ready and well prepared to move into this room. Says that the quest is over and that we can head back to the hamlet and collect our reward, but we are going to go ahead and look at this last room and in this last hallway, just in case there's something nice here. And this is a call you're going to have to make. There is no shame in pulling out of a dungeon if you think that your party members are going to die, especially on Stygian mode, because that can be a very bad thing if you lose a whole bunch of your party members in a dungeon when you really didn't have to. It counts towards your overall death total, and you can very quickly find yourself losing that campaign. And sometimes you overlook treasure, and look at this. This is going to be a fairly easy fight. We managed to surprise these guys, so we are going to get to go first. One of the things you want to keep in mind, however, when you surprise enemies like this, is that they do get 2 turns afterwards. Your whole party gets to go right off the bat, and they don't get to do anything about it, but afterwards they do get, I believe, an extra turn. So you can quickly find yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't manage to take down at least one of these guys. And this guy right here, the courtesan, we do not want to let him get any of his attacks off, because he will cause a ton of stress damage very quickly. So let's quickly try and use all of our disables on him, try and deny him a turn. Look at that, popping him backwards, a little bit farther out of range of my frontline troops than I would have liked, however. Look at that, a nice crit, obliterating that skeleton. He drops no body because we did so much damage to him, and we've reduced the threat of their party by quite a significant margin. Yeah, watch this. They're going to get a ton of turns here, though. Oh, no, maybe not this time. Yeah, let's hit him with this one. Want to get that stacking damage on him if possible. Really want to focus this guy down. Not enough damage there, though. Oh, look at that. The infection managed to finish him off. So things going pretty smoothly so far. Getting really lucky with the dodges. Sometimes you will not get any dodges at all, and you will just eat everything to the face. And no, it's not fun. I'm going to try and stun him, because the crossbowman can do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, he dodges it somehow? He dodges a flash of light. I don't know. Go figure. Let's hit the crossbowman. Look at that. A whopping 15 damage, almost wiping him off the face of the map. He's going to go for our rogue now, who is just... He must be hoarding rabbit shoes or something in those pockets of his, because he just will not take damage, which is fantastic for us. Alright, let's finish this guy off. A very mighty blow, 10 damage, taking him down very nicely. And, there you go, let's pop a key in there. See if we can't get some nice little bit of treasure. Look at this. And these are These busts and these sculptures like this are going to be important. They're one of the many crafting ingredients that you're going to need to upgrade your various buildings in your hamlet. Personally, oh, we don't have enough room. Well, that's okay. We'll eat all of our food. There we go. And then we'll go back to the hamlet. Let's just pass through the screen, and we'll talk a little bit more about upgrading your hamlet. Look at this. +1 crit and -20 stress in the ruins. Really successful first expedition. Really doing a great job on getting into the game here. Oh, motorcycle just drove by. Okay, so I definitely recommend that you upgrade your forge, which will allow you to upgrade your armor and your weapons, which will very, very quickly allow your characters to snowball. The faster you can kill enemies, obviously, the less damage you take, and the less stress damage, which is the more important of the two, that you will take. This building over here is going to help you upgrade your skills, which is extremely important. You need to keep on top of this. It will be a little bit expensive, and it is hero contextual, so when you upgrade a skill for a Crusader, for example, it will only upgrade the skills for that Crusader, it will not upgrade them across the board. And you can also customize your loadouts here. Taking a look, we've got 4 different skills, and there's a few locked ones. These are your camping skills, which you can use when you camp, but we won't see that until a little bit later, depending on whether or not we turn this into a series. But these ones are ultimately very customizable. You can see there's a nice heal right here. I like to go with the heal, and there's this rallying cry that will increase your torchlight, your stress, and heal whoever, or decrease your stress and heal whoever you target it with. So extremely useful, extremely versatile. So you are able to customize your loadout depending on what kind of enemies you expect to face. And once you get a little bit familiar with all of the various areas, let's take a quick look here. See the ruins, the shadowy dungeon, the weald, the lairs, and the crick, which is it's like a Cthulhu sort of themed dungeon. It's an underwater cave. But yeah, so upgrade your guild, upgrade your forge, consider upgrading your tavern, because as you can see, there's all these little slots in here which you can use to decrease the stress of your party members, and depending on what kind of traits they have, that will affect their ability to A, participate in these, and B, the efficacy, the effectiveness of these treatments on their stress levels. There is also this up here, which is another form of tavern, which is the church, and a lot of the holier characters tend to get a lot of benefit from being in this area, whereas like rogues like this, you know, they like to gamble, they like to drink. You will occasionally see this fellow right in here. He is a pain in the butt. This is the caretaker, and occasionally he will take up one of these slots randomly in either the tavern or the chapel, rather. And sometimes, you know, it's not a big deal, and other times it's exactly the spot you need, and you will curse his name and wish that you could throttle the bastard. So yeah, I think that's a pretty suitable introduction to the game. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you want to see more of our suicide run on the hardest difficulty, be sure to let me know down in the comments section, and I will make it happen. So coming up next, you're going to see the first of our mini-series, our historical battle mini-series. We are going to be doing the massacre at Aqualonde, and it's actually fantastic. It is a wonderful battle, so I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. Until then, take care, everybody. Bye-bye!